word to wise. Grass only greener when it's fertilized. Gave them truth in these songs, they prefer to lies. Destiny beautiful, adrift in her purple lies. You can't see me, you Stevie. Wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Ernie, Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. Alright, today's video, we are going to be talking about X-Force number 21 by Benjamin Percy, Joshua Cassara, and Robert Gill. And in this video, we're going to discuss the return of a Benjamin Percy creation from the Weapon Plus program that's going to raise questions about whether or not Krakoa is going to be dangerous to mutant kind in the long run, and more importantly, how the Man-Thing is Xeno's latest weapon against mutant kind. We're gonna talk about all this and more right now, but first, if you wanna see more awesome videos like this one, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you enjoy the video, I humbly ask that you Hulk smash that like button because it really helps the channel out. Now that all that's out of the way, let's talk about X-Force number 21. Okay, so the main thing I really want to hammer on here, it has nothing to do with the overall plot of the book itself, but we do kind of have to talk about a couple of elements of that just to kind of get the idea out there. But the whole idea of this comic made me think to myself, just when I thought that X-Force was done with plant shenanigans, here comes Man-Thing. You see, at the very beginning of this book, we learn that there is some kind of a waste dumping, this mass waste dumping that's going on off the coast of Washington, and that waste is making its way across the oceans, and this waste is something that is on the nuclear level. This is 50 million gallons of chemical and nuclear waste, and as it is cutting a swath across the ocean, it is infecting and ultimately turning the sea life that is encountering it into dangerous monsters, not too dissimilar from the things that we saw in X-Force number 15 and 16. The only difference is this time there's someone there to help. Yeah, the X-Force gets involved because, of course, naturally they're concerned about this, because if this waste reaches Krakoa, it could very easily turn Krakoa against the mutants. This stuff is that powerful, but what we learn is that there is a character out there who, if you're not familiar with, it's completely understandable, but there's a character out there who is willing to do what it takes to save humanity from this waste and the monsters that it can create. And that is a character by the name of Jackson Strode, aka Manslaughter, a character who was co-created by Benjamin Percy and Jorge Genti in the pages of Weapon Plus World War IV number 1. Jackson Strode was infected with the Man-Thing serum that was created by Ted Sallis. This is not Man-Thing proper, and for all intents and purposes, he's not even really as powerful as Man-Thing. We know Man-Thing being the nexus of the multiverse and all realities, and that all things that no fear burn at the touch of the Man-Thing. He can teleport and do all this crazy stuff. He's superhumanly strong and can control plant life and all these other things. The Man-Thing is one of those characters that honestly a lot of times people always get upset and say, oh, he's just a copycat of Swamp Thing, but the real truth of the matter is that the two characters came out literally within months of each other, with Swamp Thing coming out, I think it was in July of 1971, and Man-Thing coming out about a couple months prior in May of the same year. So who knows? It's kind of like with the X-Men and Doom Patrol, how the two teams came out within months of each other in the same year, and it's always been kind of debatable which one actually came out first. And it actually leads to this very interesting idea that Beast brought up when talking with Sage about the idea of multiple discovery, because this is something that plays a huge part pretty much since the beginning of Dawn of X. We talk about this in the X-Men number 1 video that probably came out before this, but the idea of multiple discovery is a huge concept in the new age of X-Men. And if you don't know what the idea of multiple discovery is, it's basically a scientific concept where you can have multiple scientists from multiple different areas of the world who essentially come up with the same idea at about roughly the exact same time, completely independent of one another. With the example that Beast used being that the crossbow was created in Greece, Africa, northern Canada, and China at about roughly the exact same time, with no communication between any of these countries as to what exactly they were doing. This is something that is even spread to the artistic realm, where multiple discovery has happened all the time, where we see movies, books, comic books even, as we just mentioned, even video games that all come out around roughly the exact same time, with these entities who created them not really having any communication with one another, but they come out with something that's eerily similar, even if, in the case of like say stories, books, so on and so forth, the beats are kind of the same, but they're not word for word the exact same thing. This is something that happens all the time, and we never really talk about it. No one ever really throws around the word or term multiple discovery, but it's a very real thing. And that's what's happening here, is the fact that when we see this instance with Man-Thing and these multiple Man-Things popping up all over the place, not just Jackson Strode, but everywhere this is happening. And it starts making Sage and Beast wonder if this is the telephoronics at work, but it's not. Someone else was working on something incredibly similar, and this is how multiple discovery comes up. The fact that Krakoa and Terra Verde were working on pretty much the exact same things at the exact same time, but Krakoa released theirs to the public first. Someone else is doing the same thing with the Man-Thing serum. But it's not Ted Salas that's at the bottom of this, it's a guy by the name of Dr. Bloodroot. And Dr. Bloodroot is working closely with the leader of Xeno, who is providing him with the Man-Thing formulas and all of its variables. And what they're doing with this exactly is that they're using this as a weapon, a biological weapon, much kind of in the same way that Beast was infecting people with the telephoronics to, create spyware to spy on the rest of the world. Xeno is using this exact same technology, albeit using variations of the Man-Thing formula, to basically infect others and use this to discourage those who have agreed with Krakoa or worked with Krakoa or embrace change and the gifts that Krakoa have to offer, using this against them to either blackmail them into rescinding their votes, basically having them fall in line with the United Kingdom. Because as we saw in the pages of Excalibur number 21, Ruben Brousseau revealed that the United Kingdom was rescinding their deal with Krakoa. They were reneging on the deal, and that they would no longer support Krakoa, nor did they have interest in anything that Krakoa had to offer. Well, Xeno is trying to encourage other people to do the same things, and the ones that they don't blackmail, they use the Man-Thing formula to take over their bodies and have them commit acts that would basically put them in a position where they can be blackmailed or outright discredited. There's even an instance where we see a DC lawmaker infected with this Man-Thing serum, and they use it to control her and cause her to kill another senator who was also a big supporter of the deal with Krakoa. Now, of course, this all leads into X-Force encountering Jackson Strode and trying to figure out what's up with him, because as far as they know, they feel like this virus is something that's dangerous, but they've encountered this guy that, by all accounts, even from people who have encountered him out in the world, they say this guy isn't trying to hurt anybody. He's actually trying to help people, even at a point where X-Force is trying to save these people on a boat that is being attacked by the monsters created by this Man-Thing serum and all of this waste that was, let loose into the ocean. People say, yeah, no, the guy didn't try to hurt me. He was, he looked like a monster, of course, but he actually tried to help. It makes things incredibly interesting. Wolverine is a character who is incredibly familiar with the Weapon Plus program and everything that's been created from it. Being someone who was created as a weapon, Wolverine would have a common ground with this manslaughter guy. And of course, they are able to eventually find some kind of common ground with manslaughter, and this is how they learn that he is connected to the Weapon Plus program, and more importantly, how we learn that he is connected to the Weapon Plus program, and more importantly, to Xeno. And as we're reintroduced to Xeno, its leader, who is once again someone who has been incredibly steeped in mystery, we have yet to learn this person's true identity. But here we see an instance where, as he holds up his hand, we learn that whatever is going on with the things that they're working on, he's using it on himself. Clearly, he is not a normal, regular human being as we may have suspected in the past. He has infected himself with this Man-Thing serum to some degree. They've at least tested it enough that he's comfortable using it on himself. But the other conversation I think we really need to have here is the fact that when we get to the back of the book, the report that Dr. Cecilia Reyes unveils to us is that between Krakoa, Terra Verde, and the Man-Thing and its various strains, there's something to be said about symbiosis. Because each of these, in a weird way, are a plant symbiote, but all of them have different ways of going about what they do. And this is where Cecilia Reyes starts kind of delving into the idea that what if Krakoa is not that different different from the Man-Thing strain? What if, because of the fact that, they have been eating food created by Krakoa, they've been breathing air that is, for all intents and purposes, created by Krakoa, taking its medicines, using everything that Krakoa has to offer, what if mutant kind has been infected by Krakoa on a level that's very similar to what the Man-Thing serum has done with Jackson Strode, or what the Telephoronics have done with the people of Terra Verde? It does pose a very interesting question, and it's a question that I don't think Benjamin Percy is asking lightly. This is something that I think we are going to have to deal with somewhere down the road, and could very well lead to some very interesting stories that come out of it. I sincerely believe that, yeah, this is something that definitely needs to be explored and looked at. And it's something I've even thought about myself. We know Krakoa, in the past as being this, terrible mutant killing island, and now it's a place of peace for mutants. But does that mean that Krakoa is not still doing something in some way, shape, form, or fashion? We know that Krakoa still feeds on psychic energy, and that instead of just, killing a few mutants here and there, it's been siphoning off psionic energy from all the mutants on the island, just a little teensy-weensy bit, which is not enough to necessarily kill anybody or even hurt them. If anything, it might give them a small migraine. So it does make me wonder, yeah, could this be the next step? Are we eventually going to start seeing at some point mutants who start becoming more and more and more like Manslaughter or Man-Thing? That could be a very interesting thing to look into down the road. But that was actually probably one of the biggest things I think that was, or at least the most interesting thing to me that was going on in this comic. And I think it's definitely something worth exploring. I think oh man, I can't wait to see what Benjamin Percy does with this. And I don't know, I love it because Benjamin Percy on the slick has been basically turning X-Force into a Swamp Thing book. It is just really hilarious to me, considering the fact that, you got Man-Thing on deck. We're bringing Man-Thing into the proceedings. Of course, when you bring in Man-Thing, you can't help but make the comparison to Swamp Thing, especially with Manslaughter, who is drawn to even look a bit more like how we traditionally look at characters like Swamp Thing. And I find it incredibly entertaining and interesting, especially considering what's going on with Swamp Thing over on the DC comic side of things. If you're keeping up with that, there's a new Swamp Thing that's running around. It's crazy to talk about. We have Manslaughter, who is a more recent creation in and of itself. That's neither here nor there. I enjoyed the book. Definitely got me interested for the next issue. I'm really curious to see Benjamin Percy follow this thread. I just want him to keep pulling it until the sweater completely unravels. But anyways, if you enjoyed this video, Hulk smash that like button, and make sure to share this video all over the internet and with all your friends so they'll know how you leveled up your comic book big brain in regards to X-Force and Reign of X. On your way out, make sure to hit that subscribe button and let me know what you thought about X-Force number 21. Keep it plus ultra and sound off in the comments.